The night falls slowly. The air thins like a layer of mist drifting over the hills. A faint wind brushes past the roof, touches the old wooden beams, and leaves behind a steady rhythm, soft, deliberate, as if the earth itself is counting its breath. In that quiet corner of the world, between the scent of soil and dew, a life begins with simple movements, the grip of a wooden handle, one short step forward, a straight back, and a breath finding its own pace. From a small courtyard, a path unfolds through dim mornings and lonely inns, where each gesture loses a little excess and each thought sheds a bit of noise. Encounters come and go like rivers passing grass, until only one thing remains: to observe clearly, to move at the right moment, and to keep one's heart still as water after the wind has gone. Tonight, we drift gently toward Japan, many centuries back. The paths are of dirt, winding through wet rice fields and quiet groves of bamboo. There are no engines, no lamps of glass and wire, only oil lanterns flickering softly like the breathing of a world not yet fully awake. Along that road walks a man. He carries little, a coarse robe, a sword, and a silence that seems older than his years. History remembers him as Miyamoto Musashi, but tonight he is not legend, not warrior, not philosopher. He is simply a traveler, a man who learned to walk, to live, and to breathe slowly among restless winds. Imagine him passing through a sleeping village. The thatched roofs are dark, smoke from the hearths fading into the night. The earth underfoot is soft with dew. From the fields, crickets murmur their broken rhythm, an old melody no one remembers. On his back, a small cloth bag moves slightly with each step. Every footprint sinks into silence. Every step is a whisper, not fast, not slow, just enough to hear his own breathing. This journey has no enemy, no victory. It is made of repetition, patience, and moments so small they vanish if one is not paying attention, like a drop of dew sliding down a blade of grass, like smoke dissolving into wind, like the faint sound of a sword drawn so slowly it carries no threat, only precision. Musashi's world is a world of breath and space. Strength here does not come from shouting, but from the ability to remain quiet at the right time. Each day is a lesson in observation, watching the horizon, feeling the wind, listening to the ground beneath his feet. His life, when seen from afar, looks less like a series of battles and more like one long practice, the practice of seeing clearly, hearing deeply, and staying unmoved by the noise of others. The eastern sky begins to pale. The first light touches the slopes, slides across the water, and stirs the mist. In that muted glow you might see him sitting still, back straight, eyes half closed. He does not think of tomorrow or of duels long past. He simply sits, letting time pass like a quiet stream, letting the calls of birds fade into the wind, letting his body and the world become one. In that stillness, each breath dissolves into the soil. Each thought settles like dust on old wood. Life, with all its noise, struggle, and longing, feels distant now. What remains is the simple presence of a human being learning how to exist with nothing but calm awareness. If you were standing beside him now, you would hear nothing but the wind. Yet in that silence, everything becomes clearer. The outline of the mountains, the weight of the mist, the warmth of your hands, the slow rhythm of your own heart. In that moment, the world and the self are no longer separate. Everything blends, without reason, without name. The night fades, the sun rises gently over the fields. The traveler keeps walking, small against the long road that has no end. Each step is a count, each breath a reminder. Every journey begins within. Whether the road ahead holds storm or calm, the only thing to keep is stillness within movement. So before the story begins, let your own breathing slow. Listen to the wind as it moves past your window, the faint retreat of darkness from the room. Everything is quieting now. Tonight's story will not be told through the clash of swords, but through pauses and air, through the art of still motion. It is the path of one who has walked through all the noise of the world, only to return to silence. The path of observation, of timing, of peaceful breath. Childhood in Harima. Morning unfolds slowly across the valley. The mist has not yet decided whether to stay or leave. It drifts between the low hills, touches the riverbanks and slips into the folds of the thatched roofs below. The first light is soft, the kind that doesn't chase the darkness away but sits gently beside it. You can almost smell the wet soil, rich, cold, and alive. This is Harima, a province of mountains and fields, a place where everything seems to move at the pace of breath. The paths are narrow, winding through the ridges where pine roots break the surface of the earth. When the wind passes through, it brings with it the scent of wood smoke, rainwater, and rice straw drying on fences. Life here is neither hard nor easy, it simply is, unfolding in the quiet rhythm of work and weather. In a small house at the edge of the village, a child grows among these sounds. He wakes before dawn, not because anyone tells him to, but because the world itself stirs him awake. The chickens murmur in their pens. The bamboo outside the door knocks gently in the breeze. A wooden bucket creaks as someone carries water from the well. These are his lullabies and alarms, shaping his sense of time before he ever learns to count it. The boy's name is Takezo, though one day the world will know him differently. For now, he is only a barefoot child running through wet grass, his robe tied loosely at the waist, his hair sticking to his forehead. He does not yet know about honor, fame, or war. What he knows are the textures of his world, the sting of cold water on skin, the grain of wood beneath his fingers, the smell of smoke clinging to his father's clothes. His father, Munisai, is a swordsman. He carries his art the way a carpenter carries a tool, without display, without ornament. When he moves, it is quiet but precise, as though every step has been measured long before it happens. He does not smile often, his hands are calloused from practice, his eyes sharp, always watching, always weighing. To him, the sword is not a symbol, it is a craft, an instrument for shaping not just combat but character. In the mornings, when the fog is still low, Munisai takes his son to the open yard behind the house. The earth there is flattened from years of training. The smell of damp soil mixes with the faint scent of oil from the wooden blades. He hands the boy a bokken, a practice sword, rough and heavy, almost too large for his small hands. "Hold it straight," the father says. He does not shout, he does not explain it, he waits. The boy lifts the sword, his arms trembling. The wood feels alive, humming with weight and resistance. The first time he swings, it cuts only air and balance. The second time, he stumbles forward, his bare feet leaving small prints in the mud. The father does not correct him. He watches, silent, letting the mistake teach what words cannot. Behind them, the village begins to wake. Smoke curls from chimneys. Someone calls to a neighbor. A rooster cries again. The rhythm of daily life starts its slow turning, but in the small yard of the Musashi house, time feels suspended. The boy swings again and again until his arms ache, and the sword's weight becomes part of him. When at last the father nods once, it feels like the world itself has exhaled. These mornings repeat themselves for years, each one nearly identical: mist, silence, the smell of pine, the sound of wood against air. Yet each morning, something imperceptible changes. The boy grows taller, his stance steadier, his hands tougher. The world around him narrows into essentials: movement, timing, breath. What others might call discipline is, for him, simply the way life unfolds. There are no toys here, no idle afternoons. When the other children chase each other through the rice fields, he watches from a distance, tracing their steps, noticing who tires first, who stumbles, who learns to hide behind a tree and wait. Even in play, he studies motion. Without realizing it, his mind begins to shape patterns, to sense the rhythm of pause and action, of stillness before movement. At night, the wind presses against the shutters, the oil lamp burns low. He lies awake, listening to the steady breathing of his father in the next room. In that rhythm, he finds comfort, not affection. His father rarely offers that, but presence. The kind of presence that tells a child he is being watched, not to be protected, but to be shaped. Sometimes Munisai trains with others from nearby villages. The sound of wooden swords clashing echoes across the valley. The boy sits on the porch, knees pulled to his chest, eyes fixed on the rhythm of the fight. There is no excitement in his gaze, no thrill, only curiosity. How the men step, how their weight shifts, how their eyes move before their hands. When one loses balance, he understands why, long before the strike lands. He does not yet think of these as lessons, but they settle in him quietly, the way rain seeps into soil. Years later, when the world turns harder, these early impressions will surface again. The sound of breath, the patience between strikes, the way the body learns faster than words. In Harima, life is simple, but never soft. The winters bite, the summers smother. The harvests depend on moods of rain and mountain fog. In such a place, endurance is not taught, it is absorbed. Children learn to wait, to carry, to mend, to move, without complaint. The boy learns these things too, not from choice, but from the texture of the days themselves. Sometimes, after practice, he helps mend fences or gather firewood. He watches the way his father splits logs, not in anger, but in rhythm. Each swing measured, each strike followed by silence. When he mimics the motion, the axe nearly topples him. He laughs once, quietly, the sound swallowed by the wind. The father says nothing, only adjusts the boy's grip and lets him try again. Through such repetitions, the world begins to speak to him in a language without words. The thud of wood meeting soil means wait. The creak of a rope in the wind means tension. The silence after effort means balance. These are small things, but they are the first lessons of mastery, the kind that never appear in books. When the day ends, the sky fades from blue to ash. The valley grows dim except for the red embers of evening fires. Crickets take over where birds leave off. The boy washes his hands in cold water, eats rice from a simple bowl, and sits by the door watching the night settle. The sword rests against the wall beside him, not as a reminder of duty, but as part of the room, like the wooden beams, the clay floor, the faint hum of insects in the dark. He does not yet know who he will become. He only knows the shape of effort, the calm that follows it, and the faint pride that lives between exhaustion and rest. And so the nights of Harima pass, slow and quiet. The boy sleeps lightly, as though waiting for dawn. When morning returns, he will step again into the yard, pick up the same wooden sword, and begin once more. There is no hurry, nothing needs to be achieved today. Only the motion repeated, the breath measured, the ground remembered beneath his feet. Somewhere beyond the mountains, the world is already moving toward wars and empires. But here, in this small valley of soil and mist, a child learns a different kind of strength, one made not from glory, but from rhythm, patience, and the quiet endurance of doing the same small thing perfectly, again and again. And long before anyone calls him a master, he has already begun to understand the sword is only a tool. The lesson is in the silence, and the silence is everywhere. The first duel. The years in Harima pass like a long breath held between dawn and dusk. The boy has grown, though not by much in height. What has changed is his balance, the way his body now moves with quiet intention. The wooden sword no longer trembles in his hands. It follows him the way a shadow follows light, faithfully, without need of thought. He is 13, old enough to carry the weight of a name, but still young enough to mistake the world for something solid and clear. The mornings come as they always have, the mist, the crows, the smell of boiled rice. Yet the air feels different now. It carries a kind of waiting. Even the wind seems to hold its breath. In the neighboring village, a traveling swordsman has arrived. He calls himself Arima Kihei. His presence stirs quiet curiosity. Strangers rarely linger here. He walks with the practiced ease of one who has lived long by the blade. His clothes are neat, his posture proud, his hands heavy with callous. To the villagers, he is a guest worth watching. To the boy, he is something else, a question without an answer. Rumors drift like smoke. Some say the man seeks challenges, others say he teaches for coin. The boy listens without comment. At night, he lies awake, staring at the wooden sword beside him, tracing the grain of the wood with his fingertips. He does not dream of glory. He only feels a pull, the same quiet force that draws a leaf to fall when the wind changes. One grey morning, he takes his wooden sword and walks toward the open field near the shrine. The earth there is dry, scattered with small stones that glint under the thin light. Kihei is already waiting, speaking idly with a few villagers. When he turns and sees the boy approach, a smile flickers across his face, not unkind but certain. The boy bows once, awkward but steady. He says little. His voice, when it comes, is even. "I wish to test my form." A quiet falls over the small gathering. A child challenging a man. No one laughs, though some lower their eyes, as if to soften the moment. The wind stirs again, brushing the grass. Kihei accepts, perhaps out of amusement, perhaps out of discipline. He draws a wooden blade from his pack, worn smooth, heavier than the boy's. The air between them thickens, not with tension, but with the simple awareness that something is about to begin. No one counts, no signal is given. They move as water moves, without warning, without pause. The man steps first, calm and measured. The boy's eyes follow the motion of his shoulders, the rise and fall of breath beneath the robe. The world narrows until there is only that movement and the space between it. He feels the ground under his bare feet, the faint grain of dirt shifting beneath his toes. When the man's blade lifts, the boy moves. Not quickly, not violently, but with the clean instinct of something long practiced. The sound is small, wood against wood, a dry thud, the sigh of displaced air. For a moment, everything seems to stop. Then Kihei steps back, startled by the sharpness of the strike that grazed his wrist. He recovers at once, but the rhythm has already changed. The boy does not press forward. He stands where he is, breathing lightly, his eyes calm. The duel ends before anyone fully realizes it has begun. Silence settles, wide and slow. A single leaf drifts between them, caught in the still air, then falls. Kihei lowers his weapon. There is no anger in his face, only the faint bewilderment of one who has seen the future take a shape he did not expect. He nods once, not to concede, but to acknowledge. The boy bows deeper this time, then steps back. No one claps, no one speaks. The sound that fills the space is the wind moving through grass, the quiet clicking of bamboo far away. It is the kind of moment that might vanish entirely if not remembered. Yet for the boy, it becomes something permanent, pressed into memory like a mark on stone. He walks home by the long path through the fields. The sun is climbing, turning the mist to threads of gold. His arms ache faintly, his palms burn from the grip of the wood. But inside, there is only stillness, no pride, no fear, only the knowledge that something has shifted. He does not think of victory. He thinks of rhythm, how the world had narrowed, how his body had known before his mind could speak. The lesson feels older than he is, as though it had been waiting for him to notice. At home, the yard lies empty. His father is away, called to a nearby town. The boy sets the practice sword by the door and washes his hands in cold water. The sound of the stream is louder than usual. He watches it for a long time, following the pattern of bubbles breaking against stones. Each one appears, trembles, and disappears, leaving no trace behind. That night, the wind changes, clouds drift low across the moon. He lies awake again, but this time he does not stare at the sword. He listens. To the frogs near the river, to the faint creak of the roof beams, to his own heart beating slowly, evenly. Somewhere in that rhythm he senses a path stretching forward, long, uncertain, but his alone. Days later, the story of the duel spreads through the villages. They call it courage, luck, or arrogance. Each teller changes a detail. Some say the boy fought barehanded, others that the man tripped. The truth, thin and quiet, drifts beneath their words like a current under still water. The father returns, he hears the story without expression. At dusk, he calls the boy outside. The light is fading, the air smells of damp straw. Was it true? He asks. The boy nods. The father studies him for a long time. Then he says only, "Do not mistake chance for skill," and walks back inside. The words do not wound, they linger like smoke, neither praise nor blame, simply air reshaped by heat. The boy understands. There will be no celebration, no reward. The lesson continues tomorrow, as it always has. Yet deep within, a small clarity settles. He realizes that the duel was not about defeating someone else. It was about seeing, about the space between intention and motion, the breath before the strike. Once seen, it cannot be unseen. From that day, practice changes. He no longer swings for strength, but for awareness. Each repetition becomes slower, quieter, more exact. He studies the pauses between movements as carefully as the movements themselves. The ground teaches him balance, the wind teaches him patience, even the sound of his own breath becomes a kind of teacher. Sometimes, while fetching water, he stops to watch the ripples spreading from a single drop. The pattern fascinates him, how the circle widens, fades, and returns to stillness. He begins to sense that all actions, if guided well, should end the same way, leaving no turbulence, no trace. The villagers look at him differently now, some with curiosity, some with unease. A few whisper that he has the eyes of one who listens too much. He does not mind. He helps when asked, carries water, repairs fences, and trains as always. His life remains small, his world unchanged, yet inside him, something vast has begun to breathe. At dusk, when the sun sinks behind the ridges, he often stands on the narrow bridge over the stream. The water below reflects the last light, trembling like a living mirror. He watches the flow and thinks of the duel. How brief it had been, how complete. He realizes that mastery might not be in striking, but in knowing when the strike is no longer needed. One evening, his father returns from another journey. They eat in silence, the sound of chopsticks soft against the bowls. When the meal is done, the father sets his own sword beside the boy's wooden one. The gesture is small, almost accidental, but the boy feels its meaning. Between the two blades, one aged, one unfinished, there lies a promise of what will come. Outside, night gathers again. The fields shimmer faintly under moonlight. A fox crosses the path and vanishes into tall grass. The boy steps out to the yard once more, lifts his sword, and moves through the same forms, slow, steady, patient. There is no audience now, no opponent, no victory to seek. Only the rhythm of wood through air and the breath that follows it. He will carry this rhythm into every road ahead, through hunger, through exile, through countless mornings and endless silence. But for now, he is still a boy beneath the soft sky of Harima, the echo of his first duel already fading into memory. Somewhere beyond the hills, the world turns toward war. Here, the night remains calm. The wind sighs through the trees and the river keeps its low, steady murmur. The stars look down without urgency, and the child with the wooden sword continues his slow dance with air, unaware that, in this quiet moment, a legend has already begun to breathe. The wandering years. The road leaves Harima like a line drawn in dust. It winds through low hills and fields where the air smells of river silt and pine. Along that road walks a young man, thin from travel, carrying a sword wrapped in cloth and the patience of someone who has already learned how to be alone. He does not look back at the valley that raised him. Behind him lie the mornings of mist, the wooden yard, the echo of practice on damp soil. Ahead lies everything else, unmapped villages, nameless rivers, the wide, slow silence of the world. He walks at a pace that belongs only to himself. Each step lands softly, as if he is careful not to disturb the shape of the earth. His sandals are worn thin, his robe has lost its color to dust and rain. Sometimes he eats. Sometimes he simply walks until hunger passes. Sleep finds him where it can, beneath a tree, under the eaves of a shrine, on a field still warm from the day's sun. The days stretch and fold. When the wind blows from the sea, it brings salt and distant cries of gulls. When it blows from the mountains, it tastes of stone and rain. The seasons change without ceremony, and the traveler changes with them. He learns to read the weather from clouds and shadows. He learns which streams carry sweet water and which taste of iron. He learns how the sound of frogs at night can tell whether the rain will last until morning. These things are not taught, they are gathered. The quiet education of the road. Now and then he meets others like himself, wandering swordsmen, laborers, farmers who have left their land. They share fire, rice, and silence. Names are spoken once and soon forgotten. What matters is the warmth of company for the length of a meal, then the soft parting that leaves no debt behind. The world is wider than he had imagined, yet also smaller. Every village has a well, a temple bell, a dog that barks at night. Every road curves toward the same horizon. But within that sameness, he begins to see differences too. The way people stand, how they hold their hands when speaking, how they move when they think no one is watching. He starts to notice patterns. A fisherman cleaning his net, shifting weight from heel to toe, a woman pounding rice, her arms keeping perfect rhythm with the wooden pestle, a farmer turning soil with a hoe, his spine bending at the same angle each time. All these are movements born of purpose. He studies them quietly, as if each were another kind of sword form, each revealing something about balance, flow, and timing. At dusk, he sometimes practices alone beside the river. The water catches the light and scatters it like dust. His reflection moves with him, a ghost that swings and pauses, that rises and falls with the rhythm of the current. He does not count the strikes anymore. He lets them merge with the sounds around him, the frogs, the reeds, the faraway beating of drums from some unseen festival. When he tires, he sits, listening to the river's voice until it becomes indistinguishable from his own breathing. There are villages where people welcome him, offering tea and curiosity. There are others where they close doors and whisper behind paper screens. He accepts both. He asks for nothing more than water, sometimes a place to sleep when rain turns the roads to mud. Once, during a long storm, he finds shelter in an inn by the river. The inn is nearly empty, just the keeper, an old man, and two travelers drying their clothes near the hearth. The smell of wet straw and smoke fills the room. Outside, rain hits the water with a steady hiss. He eats rice and salted fish, the simplest meal, and watches the steam rise from the bowl. The warmth seeps into his hands, reminding him how long the days have been. That night, lying on a thin mat near the door, he listens to the creak of the building and the far roll of thunder. The world feels both vast and contained, a single sound moving through endless space. He closes his eyes, and the sound becomes the memory of his own footsteps. By morning, the rain has stopped. Mist floats above the river like smoke from invisible fires. He thanks the innkeeper, bows, and steps back onto the road. The air smells of wet earth and new beginnings. He walks until the inn disappears behind him, reduced to a small blur in the haze. Sometimes the road leads to towns where martial schools stand behind tall wooden gates. From the street, he can hear the crack of practice swords, the rhythmic shouts of students training in unison. He watches from afar. The precision is admirable, the repetition comforting. Yet something in him hesitates to join. He has seen how form can become cage, how discipline can harden into pride. Instead, he learns differently, by watching, by adapting, by keeping what works, and letting the rest fall away. In one town, a master invites him to spar. They meet at dawn in a courtyard still heavy with dew. No one else is there. The fight lasts only a few heartbeats. When it ends, neither speaks. The master bows, eyes thoughtful, and says quietly, "You learn from the wind?" The young man bows in return. He understands what the old one means. He leaves before the town wakes. The sound of his footsteps fades into morning. Days turn to weeks. Weeks to months. The road keeps teaching. Sometimes through kindness, sometimes through hunger. He learns how to fix the strap of his sandal with a strip of bark, how to sleep sitting up when the ground is too cold, how to read distance by the taste of air. At night, when the stars are clear, he thinks of his father. He remembers the shape of the man's hands, the calm precision of each movement. But memory softens with time. The edges blur, the voice fades. In its place grows something quieter. Not affection, not regret, but gratitude without words. One evening, he comes to a bridge spanning a wide river. The water moves slow, heavy with silt, carrying the reflection of a half moon. He leans on the railing, watching the current twist around the posts. Below him, a boat drifts silently, its oars lifting and dipping without splash. The sight soothes him. The river reminds him of everything the sword cannot do, to bend, to yield, to keep moving without losing shape. He begins to travel along rivers whenever possible. They guide him through valleys and villages, through fog and sun, through mornings filled with cranes and evenings colored by smoke. The sound of water becomes his companion, constant and forgiving. Sometimes at twilight, he passes groups of children playing near the banks. They laugh and run, throwing pebbles that skip across the surface. The ripples widen, overlap, disappear. He smiles faintly. In those ripples he sees his own path. Momentary, vanishing, but leaving the surface changed. As months pass, his body hardens, his movements grow lean. The boy from Harima becomes the wanderer no one can place. When people ask his name, he answers softly and keeps walking. He learns that freedom is light only when one carries little. A single sword, a robe, and a mind that listens. These are enough. Sometimes in small villages, he earns food by cutting wood or helping mend roofs. He listens to the talk of farmers, to their laughter, their worries about weather and harvest. The simplicity steadies him. He begins to understand that mastery has many forms: a straight furrow in a rice field, a perfect bowl of soup, a day ended without waste. One evening, he sits beside a fire built from driftwood. The flames burn low, coloring the sand with amber light. He eats slowly, then lays the sword beside him, its scabbard dusty from travel. The night air is cool, carrying the scent of river water and pine. The stars above are clear and near, as if drawn closer by the silence. He thinks of the road he has walked, and the road still ahead. He knows there will be more duels, more lessons, more mornings like this one, but none of it feels urgent. The road has already given him what he needs. The understanding that every place, every person, every sound is another form of practice. He no longer seeks teachers. The world itself has become his teacher. He lies down, using his arm for a pillow. The fire fades. Somewhere, a night bird calls once, then stops. The river keeps whispering its endless story. Before sleep takes him, he murmurs to the dark, not as a prayer, but as a truth. I walk to learn how to see. And the world, quiet and boundless, answers with the soft rhythm of water against shore. The shape and spirit of a swordsman. The years pass softly, leaving no marks except those the sun writes on his skin. The traveler has grown lean. His shoulders carry the shade of mountains. His hands have the smell of rain and iron. The robe he wears has faded from grey to something the colour of old smoke. He moves like someone who has long forgotten what haste feels like. When people see him on the road, they do not always recognize him as a swordsman. He has none of the glitter that the city warriors prefer. No polished armor, no crest, no trace of ceremony. The sword at his side is wrapped in cloth, the handle worn smooth. Yet those who look longer notice something harder to name, a stillness that travels with him, a kind of gravity that quiets the air. In certain towns, when men train in the courtyards and shout to steady their breath, he sometimes stops to watch. His gaze moves over their stances, the weight of their steps, the way their shoulders rise before they strike. To most eyes, the practice looks fierce. To him, it looks noisy. The sound of effort covers the shape of the motion. He has learned that the body, when honest, does not waste. The hand rises only as high as it must. The foot lifts only as far as the ground allows. Every movement carries the memory of breath. Nothing more, nothing less. At dawn, when the streets are still wet from the night rain, he practices alone. He does not shout, he does not count. His sword moves through the air like a slow brushstroke, painting lines that fade as soon as they appear. Each swing begins before it begins. Each ending becomes the start of the next. The wind against the blade hums softly, like a low note held too long. Sometimes, children stop to watch from the corner of the street. They whisper, thinking he cannot hear. "He doesn't look like the others." And it is true, he looks like a farmer testing a new tool, or a man chasing sunlight through dust. Yet there is precision in the quiet, a depth that only still water reveals. In the evenings, when the light turns amber, he studies the world instead of himself. He watches the fishermen haul their nets, how they brace against the pull, how the effort begins in the spine before it reaches the arms. He watches carpenters, how their saws glide without rush, the blade singing only when it moves at the right rhythm. These are not lessons in combat, but in honesty. Each trade carries its own form of truth. He learns that mastery has little to do with conquest. It is born of attention, of repetition, without pride. A fisherman cannot hurry the tide. A carpenter cannot argue with grain. A swordsman cannot force the world to move faster than his own breath. In the quiet hours between day and night, he often feels the outline of something new forming inside him. A sense that strength is not a matter of muscle or speed, but of proportion. How much pressure the wrist needs, how much stillness the body can hold before it begins to shake, how much thought must be erased before instinct appears. There are moments when he moves and feels the world respond, the wind turning with his swing, the sound folding into the motion, the light seeming to pause. It is not power. It is alignment, as if the boundary between man and air has softened for a heartbeat. Then the feeling vanishes, leaving only calm. He begins to fight differently. When challenged by other wanderers, he no longer prepares. He stands loosely, sword still sheathed, watching the air between them. His opponents often mistake the calm for weakness. They charge, eager, certain. Then before the clash, something unseen happens, a tilt of balance, a turn of timing. He steps once, lightly, and their strike passes through absence. When his blade moves, it is almost invisible, a short sound, a line of breath. The duel ends the way a candle goes out, with no struggle, only silence. He bows afterward, as he always does. He helps his opponent rise if needed. Victory, to him, has lost its taste. It feels like rainwater, clean, fleeting, without memory. He keeps walking. The roads grow longer, emptier. Sometimes he goes for weeks without meeting anyone who dares to draw a sword. At first, this disappoints him, then it begins to feel right. He realizes that the fewer battles he fights, the clearer his movements become. Conflict sharpens, solitude refines. In one mountain village, he stays for a season. He mends roots for food, chops wood for warmth. The villagers know him only as the quiet one with 2 swords. He practices near the riverbank each morning, his reflection trembling with the current. Children bring him rice balls, leaving them on a flat stone without a word. He eats in silence, bowing once toward the river as thanks. Through those months, his body changes again. The lines of muscle fade, replaced by something lighter, almost transparent. His steps leave faint marks, his breathing hardly stirs his robe. He feels less like a man carrying a sword, and more like the sword itself, a thing shaped by use, honed by weather, still but always ready. When autumn comes, he prepares to leave. The villagers gather to wish him safe travels. One of them, an old woodcutter, asks softly, "Why do you walk so far when everything you need seems already with you?" He smiles faintly and answers, "Because the road is what sharpens what is carried." The old man nods, understanding without reply. He travels south, where the air grows warmer, the light sharper. Dust rises from his sandals, swirling around him like faint smoke. He notices how the sword weighs differently now. Not heavier, not lighter, just more truthful. The handle fits his hand as naturally as breath fits the body. He no longer feels the urge to prove its edge. The blade's purpose lies in its readiness, not in its use. Sometimes he passes through cities and the polished samurai stare. Their armor shines, their posture declares importance. He nods politely but does not stop. To them, he looks unfinished, half wild, like a man who has walked too long under open sky. Yet when they meet his eyes, some feel an unease they cannot name, as if the stillness within him mirrors something they have forgotten. He sleeps where he can. Under bridges, in fields where the reeds whisper all night, in barns that smell of hay and horses, wherever he rests, he lies with his sword close, not from fear, but from habit. It is part of his breathing now. Inhalation, exhalation, the faint sound of metal shifting in its sheath. One dawn, as he crosses a river by ferry, the water gleams pale silver. He stands on the deck, eyes following the current. Each ripple folds into another. None are wasted. He thinks, this is how movement should be. Nothing added, nothing left behind. Later, on an empty plain, he practices again. The wind carries his robe outward. The grass bends in slow rhythm. His feet draw circles in the dust. Every swing of the sword writes and erases the same line. He stops only when his breath and the wind have found the same pace. He wipes the blade, wraps it, and looks toward the horizon. The sky there is colorless, the kind of light that belongs to no hour. In that quiet expanse, he understands something that words cannot hold. Perfection is not a peak, but a balance, the point where action and stillness meet so exactly that they become the same thing. The day ends without drama. He walks until the stars appear, small and steady. A thin moon rises, its reflection follows him in puddles left by rain. Each step feels lighter than the last, as though the earth itself has accepted his weight. He finds shelter under a tree. The sword rests beside him. The night air cools, filled with the smell of leaves and distant fire. He closes his eyes, and the darkness folds around him like a second robe. In that darkness, movement continues. The pulse of his heart, the rhythm of the wind, the long, slow breath of the world turning. There is no need for dreams tonight. Everything worth dreaming has already passed before his eyes. Tomorrow he will walk again, not to chase battle, not to seek fame, but simply to keep the body and the world in conversation. Somewhere beyond the horizon, another test awaits, another measure of stillness, another reminder that motion and silence share the same root. But for now, the swordsman sleeps, his hand resting lightly on the scabbard, the night breathing through the grass around him. Nothing moves, and yet everything moves. That is enough. The rhythm of mind and timing. Morning begins before light. The air feels weightless, almost uncertain, as though deciding whether to move. Somewhere a crow calls once, the sound stretching far and dissolving into the mist. He stands in a field where dew clings to each blade of grass like breath held too long. The sword at his side is still sheathed. The world itself seems to be waiting. He has learned that battles do not start with the drawing of a blade. They start with a glance, a breath, a pause too long or too short. The body tells its story long before the hand can hide it, and so before any fight, he listens. He watches the way people breathe. Some draw air through their mouth, shallow and quick, betraying worry. Others fill the chest too full, already unbalanced before motion. He studies the rhythm of eyes, how pupils narrow just before decision, how fear blinks faster than courage. He studies shoulders, the small rise before intention, the tremor that appears when pride outweighs patience. Over time, this watching becomes effortless. He no longer measures consciously. It is as if every breath, every twitch of muscle, every hesitation in step appears to him as clearly as ink on paper. The duel is decided long before the swords ever meet. He once thought skill was in speed. Now he knows it is in timing. Speed rushes, timing waits. Speed is a single note, timing is the entire song. Sometimes, when challenged, he simply stands still. The opponent circles, waiting for motion, but nothing moves except the wind. The man across from him begins to shift, uncertain, his breathing uneven, his weight sliding from one foot to the other. In that imbalance, the fight ends. Quietly, invisibly, though neither has yet moved a blade. To him, timing is a long breath drawn evenly through the world. It begins with stillness and returns to stillness. It is not about striking first, it is about striking when the world exhales. He remembers one morning beside a riverbank, two fishermen arguing softly about when to cast their nets. One threw too early, the net collapsing in shallow water. The other waited until the ripples widened and his net sank perfectly, the current carrying it open like a slow, unfolding flower. Musashi had watched in silence, understanding. The world reveals its rhythm to those who wait for it. He begins to see this rhythm everywhere. In the fall of leaves, in the pause between waves, in the space between the last call of one bird and the first answer of another. Each moment has its opening a fraction of stillness before motion resumes. To live well, to fight well, to breathe well. All are the same act, repeated differently. When he walks through towns, he studies not the swordsman, but the ordinary. How a merchant weighs his coins before passing them, how a child hesitates before stepping into puddles, how two people bow and hold the pause just long enough to show respect. Every gesture has measure, every measure has meaning. He practices without blade now, tracing invisible arcs in the air. He listens for the moment when thought fades and the body decides. At that edge, where decision dissolves into instinct, he feels closest to truth. There, the sword becomes unnecessary. In one mountain village, an old master of drums once invited him to watch practice. The man's hands moved lightly over the skin, striking not with force but with perfect distance between beats. The pauses were alive, more powerful than sound. Afterward, the master said, "It is the silence that makes rhythm, not the strike." Musashi nodded. He understood. He begins to measure the world in pauses. When to lift the foot, when to breathe, when to let things fall apart, and when to let them mend themselves. Sometimes he practices drawing the sword in total quiet, so slow that the sound of metal against wood becomes a whisper instead of a hiss. The act is deliberate, patient, like the unfolding of dawn. Each movement asks only one question: is the moment ready? To anyone watching, it might seem he moves at random. But within him, the pattern is exact. When the breath reaches its halfway point, the hand begins. When the heartbeat settles between two pulses, the strike lands. When the world holds its breath, only then does he release his own. He has fought many duels since leaving Harima. Yet most ended before the blade touched skin. He does not kill out of anger or pride. The act, when it happens, is as calm as cutting a thread. A single motion, timed with the fall of dust, a step taken between raindrops, a strike that ends before sound has a chance to form. People speak of him with awe, calling him demon, storm, shadow. But he knows it is none of those things. It is only timing. The quiet alignment between inner and outer worlds. He moves when everything else stops moving, that is all. On long walks through open fields, he sometimes swings a stick instead of a sword. He listens to the air break, to the hum that lingers after. He notices how the sound fades faster when the air is heavy, how it travels farther when the wind shifts east. Even sound, he thinks, obeys timing. Nothing escapes it. One evening, a young swordsman follows him, eager to learn. They walk until the sun sinks behind the hills. At last, the boy asks, "When should I strike?" Musashi pauses. They stand beside a stream where the current bends sharply around stones. "Watch," he says. The boy looks, seeing only water. Minutes pass. Then the boy notices it. The exact point where the current hesitates before turning. "There," Musashi says softly. The world always hesitates before change. Strike in that breath. They stay until dusk. The boy leaves later, still uncertain, but years after he will remember the sound of the river. That long, patient note that carries all answers quietly within it. Timing, Musashi realizes, is not learned, It is remembered, the body already knows. All one must do is remove what is impatient. When storms come, he does not seek shelter immediately. He stands in the rain, watching how lightning appears before thunder, how thunder warns before rain thickens, how the world gives small notices of every shift. He studies not the noise, but the sequence. The pattern becomes a kind of scripture written in air. And when the storm passes, he feels the same rhythm within himself. Thought before breath, breath before motion, motion before silence. The sword becomes lighter each year. It is no longer something he wields. It is something that listens. He begins to sense opponents before they arrive, their thoughts echoing faintly in the air around them. The body's intentions reach outward, invisible but present, like heat rising from stone. To feel this is not magic, it is awareness refined through endless stillness. There comes a morning when he realizes he no longer practices. He simply moves. Every step, every breath, every glance at the horizon carries the same focus once reserved for battle. Life itself has become a form of practice, continuous, unbroken. He understands now. Timing is not control. It is agreement. To live in time's rhythm is to stop resisting it. A duel, a walk, a meal, a single falling leaf, all unfold within that same invisible measure. As evening spreads across the plain, he sits beneath a cedar tree. The sword rests on his knees. He watches the sun lower into the haze, its reflection sliding across the blade like liquid gold. The light wavers, then steadies. He breathes once, long and even. For that moment, everything, the air, the insects, the distant river, his own heart, beats in the same quiet tempo. He smiles barely. To an onlooker, nothing happens. But to him, the world has just completed a perfect circle. The timing is right. The wind cools, night gathers. He stands and walks again, his shadow stretching thin over the road, a faint shape moving at the same pace as the turning earth. The two-sword path. The afternoon light lies thin across the valley, the kind that turns dust to gold. In the open yard of a small village, the traveller stands again. His robe clings lightly to his shoulders. The wind slides through it as through reeds. Around him, the air is clear enough to hear distance. The tapping of carpenters at a house beyond the hill, the soft ring of a blacksmith's hammer far downstream. He lifts one sword, then another. For a long moment he simply holds them, one in each hand, not as weapons, but as questions. The left feels strange at first, heavier though it is shorter, its balance unfamiliar. The right feels natural, the old rhythm of countless mornings. He breathes once, letting the weight of both settle evenly into his arms. For years he has fought with one blade. The rhythm has been single, direct. Inhale, step, strike, release. Now with two, the air itself seems to change shape. Each breath divides, one side grounding, the other opening, a conversation between hands, between halves of the body. He does not move yet. He waits for the rhythm to reveal itself. When motion begins, it is slow, almost uncertain. The right hand cuts air, the left follows too late. He stops. Again, right, left, pause. The pause matters more than the cut. He listens for it the way a musician listens for silence between notes. Hours pass. The sun lowers. His arms ache. His shoulders hum with fatigue. But beneath the discomfort, something subtle begins to form. A faint alignment of movement, breath, and sound. The swords do not compete, they complete. The right hand opens space, the left seals it. When one moves forward, the other returns, each gesture balancing what the other has disturbed. He repeats the pattern until dusk. Left, right, stop, breathe, advance, retreat, stand still. The rhythm expands beyond the body as if the ground beneath him also joins in. The pulse of insects, the sigh of grass, the slow cooling of air. By nightfall, the motion has become a kind of breathing. When the right swings, the lungs fill. When the left strikes, they empty. When both rest, the body disappears into stillness. The villagers sometimes pass and glance through the gate. To them, it looks like an odd dance. One man tracing invisible lines, two dull blades moving without aim. But if they stay long enough, they begin to feel it too. The quiet symmetry, the steady flow that makes even the dust settle more slowly. In the days that follow, he practices only this. He no longer seeks duels or conversation. Each morning he rises with the pale light, steps barefoot onto the packed earth, and begins the slow dialogue of two hands finding one voice. He learns that the left, once weak, carries its own wisdom. It moves differently, patient, deliberate, preferring to receive rather than to command. The right acts, the left answers. Together they weave a single motion that feels less like attack and more like conversation. At first, he tries to control the rhythm. Soon he realizes control is interruption. The body knows better. So he lets it lead. He follows the balance the way a tide follows the moon. Drawn, inevitable, calm. He practices under rain. Drops fall from the thatched roof, striking the blades in faint, metallic tones. Each sound becomes part of the lesson. How weight changes when water gathers, how grip softens when wood is wet. He practices under sun, when heat blurs the air and the world seems to shimmer. In that shimmer, every swing leaves a trace of light that fades as soon as it forms. Sometimes the swords slip from his hands, clattering onto the earth. He leaves them there, breathing steadily until the noise of the fall disappears. Then he picks them up again. Each mistake belongs to the rhythm. Each recovery is another beat. At night, he sits beside the blades, polishing them not for shine, but for reflection. In the faint mirror of the steel, he sees his own face. Older now, quieter. The lines at the corners of his eyes resemble rivers branching towards sea. He studies them the way he once studied opponents, tracing where effort ends and acceptance begins. Weeks turn into months. The form evolves by itself. What began as two separate movements becomes one circular flow. The hands move opposite, yet they arrive together. He realizes the secret is not duality but timing, the same truth that governs all things. The right hand does not wait for the left, and the left does not chase the right. They meet midway in silence, sharing one breath. He names this practice Niten Ichi Ryu, two heavens, one style. But the name is only for memory. To him, it is simply balance written into air. One evening near the river where reeds grow tall, he practices as the sun falls behind the ridge. The water turns the color of molten bronze. His reflection multiplies. 2 swords, 4 hands, 8 lines of motion. all folding into one. With each swing, the reflection shifts and merges until even the river seems to breathe with him. He pauses at last, holding both blades level with his shoulders. The sound of frogs rises, the first stars appear. He feels the pulse of blood under his fingers, steady and soft. The two swords tremble slightly, not from effort, but from the echo of movement still passing through them. He lowers them slowly, crossing them before him, and bows to the fading light. The next morning, he begins to walk again. The road winds through mist and low forest. A wooden staff replaces the blades for a while. The rhythm remains the same. He practices with branches, with oars, with anything that offers resistance. He learns that the weapon is never the source. It is the listener. The mind gives rhythm, the hand translates it into shape. One afternoon, he reaches a village by the sea. Children play near the shore, throwing sticks that the tide carries back. He watches them laugh as they learn the rhythm of the waves. Throw, wait, return. The sea, he realizes, moves just like his practice. One motion outward, one motion home. The wind rises, lifting his hair. He draws both swords once more, facing the open water. The first stroke cuts against the wind, the second follows it. Together they make no sound louder than a sigh. Sand shifts around his feet. The horizon glows pale and endless. For a moment he feels as though the sky itself has taken the shape of two hands, one opening, one closing. And he stands between them, weightless. He sheathes the swords. The world returns to normal. Gulls, waves, the smell of salt and kelp. But inside him, something new has settled. A stillness that no longer needs practice. He stays by the shore for several days, sleeping near driftwood fires. At dawn, he walks along the wet sand, tracing the same motions with his empty hands. The body remembers, the air completes the rest. He notices how, even without steel, the gestures carry power. Not the power to wound, but to balance. Each swing clears the air. Each pause draws the world back to silence. When travelers pass, they greet him as a swordsman. He bows, though the word feels distant now. The blades are tools, the lesson lies in rhythm. He no longer thinks of striking, only of breathing. Left-right pause, step withdraw stand. The pattern repeats until it disappears, and in that disappearance he finds peace. One evening, the tide is low. He sits where the sand still glistens, placing both swords before him. The metal catches the fading light, two lines crossing, forming a quiet sign of completion. He watches the reflection of clouds slide across the blades, their movement slower than thought. A fisherman passing nearby stops and asks, "Why two swords?" He answers softly, "One to open, one to close." Together they make a breath. The fisherman nods, perhaps not understanding, but sensing that the answer fits the sound of the sea. Night arrives without edge or hurry. The moon drifts above the waves, drawing a silver path across the water. He lies back, the swords resting beside him. The tide advances, brushing their scabbards with foam. He does not move them away. The sea and the steel belong to the same rhythm now. The same quiet exchange of giving and receiving. He closes his eyes. The surf repeats its ancient pattern: forward, retreat, stillness, like breath, like time, like the slow motion of two blades meeting in perfect balance. When sleep comes, it feels less like an ending and more like continuation. The body resting while the rhythm carries on, the two swords breathing quietly beneath the stars. Kyoto without wind. The road narrows as it reaches the outskirts of Kyoto. Mist curls low between the houses, softening their sharp roofs into shapes of smoke. A bell somewhere in the distance marks the hour, its echo folding through the valley like a long, slow breath. The traveler enters quietly, his steps muffled by wet earth. After years of open roads, the city feels too close. Walls rising where wind should move, voices carried on narrow streets that turn before the eye can follow. Kyoto in spring is gentle, but the gentleness hides edges. The air smells of cedar and wet stone. Banners hang still above the gates of schools and shrines. Everywhere, men practice forms, the neat rhythms of discipline that fill the courtyards with the dry percussion of wooden blades. It is a city that believes in structure: bow, stance, strike, retreat, repeat. To live here is to repeat beautifully. He watches them from the edge of a garden wall one misty morning. Their uniforms are perfect, their timing exact. The rhythm is clean, yet closed, a circle that begins and ends in the same place. He can see the skill, the pride, the weight of long teaching, but he also sees the stillness of something that no longer listens. Technique has hardened into habit. Motion has forgotten why it began. The name that floats through the air is Yoshioka, the great school, the pride of Kyoto, known for lineage, for form, for order. Their reputation hums like a string drawn too tight. He feels it before anyone speaks of it. Soon someone mentions it aloud, a duel is offered. There is no ceremony, no crowd of nobles, no grand announcement. Just a courtyard, still wet from last night's rain, and the faint chill of morning. He stands opposite the master, both holding wooden swords that shine faintly with moisture. The onlookers are few: apprentices, servants, a curious passerby. The air between them is grey with fog, but clear enough to see breath. They bow once. When they move, it is brief, almost invisible. The strike lands where silence begins. The sound is a soft crack, like ice breaking underfoot. Then stillness again. The duel is over before the city has properly woken. He bows once more, not to gloat, not to explain, but to thank the air for holding steady. The master lowers his head, hands trembling, pride dissolving into mist. There are no cheers, no judgment, only the faint dripping of water from the eaves. The smell of rain returns, sharp and clean. He leaves the courtyard without looking back. For him, a duel is never an event. It is an observation of timing, of calm, of how the world moves when no one watches. But Kyoto watches. Whispers move faster than footsteps. The Yoshioka name, once a mountain, now trembles like a branch. Honor demands an answer. A brother steps forward. Days pass, the mist remains. The city seems to wait for sound. The second duel takes place on a morning without wind. The air is heavy, holding everything in suspension. He arrives early, walking through narrow lanes, still wrapped in grey. The sky has not yet decided between night and day. Even the sparrows are quiet. He waits in the yard where stone lanterns lean under moss. His opponent comes armored in fine silk, his followers standing at the wall, faces pale in the dim light. Formality hangs thick as incense. They bow. The fight lasts no longer than the first. A breath, a shift, a sound no louder than cloth brushing. Then stillness again. The brother falls, his wooden blade dropped into the mud. The apprentices freeze, eyes wide, hands shaking as if they had seen something the world was not meant to show. No triumph follows, no lessons spoken, only the same silence, drawn long enough to erase all difference between victory and loss. When he leaves Kyoto that day, the streets part around him. No one dares approach, though many follow with their eyes. His presence feels less like a man walking than a pause spreading through the city, a gap in sound that even the rain respects. But Kyoto is a place that does not forget. Honor, once broken, does not heal. With time, the Yoshioka family gathers again, not for form this time, but for revenge. The duel is declared a third and final one. The place, a small field outside the northern gate. The hour, dawn. He accepts without hesitation, though the air already smells of deceit. Something in the rhythm feels off. Too many voices whispering. Too much preparation for a fight that should be simple. He walks the night before in silence, his steps following the pulse of thought rather than the path. When dawn comes, he is already there. Earlier than anyone expected. The field is wrapped in fog. Dew pearls along the grass like beads of glass. He waits, motionless, until shapes begin to appear. Figures moving through the grey, more than should have come. Not two, not three, but many. Dozens. The ambush has been arranged, yet he feels no fear. The body reacts as it always has, quietly, precisely. He adjusts the length of the wooden sword, shortens the grip, sets his feet where the ground dips just slightly. The first sound is a branch snapping. Then footsteps, voices, the hiss of blades leaving scabbards. He moves before the rhythm can form. Each step is measured, each motion small. The first man falls before shouting. The second swings into empty air. The third stumbles into the mist where no one stands. To those watching from afar, it looks less like battle and more like weather. A pattern of motion, folding and unfolding without clear beginning or end. The sound of wood striking wood echoes once, twice, then disappears. The fog swallows the scene whole. When the mist clears, only silence remains. The field, wet with dew and scattered leaves, lies calm again. He stands at its center, breathing evenly, his robe torn at the shoulder, the wooden blade damp with grass. The sun rises slowly, turning the fog to gold. The air smells of wet earth and cedar. He looks around, not in pride, not in pity, but in quiet understanding. The duel, the ambush, the victory, all belong to the same brief rhythm, now complete. He bows once toward the ground, toward the morning, toward the lesson itself. Then he walks away, disappearing into the brightness before the city can find words to describe what has passed. Behind him, Kyoto wakes. Merchants open their doors, children chase one another along the alleys. The day resumes as if nothing has changed. Yet something has. A faint emptiness in the air, a silence that lingers where noise once ruled. The Yoshioka name fades into quiet, its echo soft and distant. The city's rhythm returns, slower, more careful, as if reminded that even perfection can vanish in a single breath. By nightfall he is far beyond the gates. The wind returns at last, brushing through the fields like a sigh of release. He walks beneath a sky just beginning to fill with stars. The road hums faintly under his steps, the dust rising, falling, settling. Somewhere behind him, Kyoto rests, not defeated, but quieter. And ahead, the long road waits, open and silent, ready to be walked once more. The road behind lengthens. The road leaves Kyoto like breath leaving a body. Slow, steady, certain. The earth, still wet from morning rain, carries the faint reflection of clouds. Each step blurs them a little more. He does not look back. The city, with its courtyards and ceremonies, is already folding into distance. The world ahead is quieter. Hills roll softly toward the sea. Bamboo leans where wind once passed. He walks without hurry. After so many duels, motion itself has changed meaning. It is no longer a march toward challenge, but a way of listening. To the sound of sandals over mud, to the hum of insects hidden in grass, to the small weight of the sword that still keeps time with his breathing. Days gather without counting. Villages come and go, faces blur into kind shapes, a woman sweeping dust from a doorway, a farmer leading an ox through water thick with light. The traveler nods to them all but speaks little. Words seem heavy now, as though each must be carried far. At night he sleeps beside roadsides where reeds whisper. Sometimes there is fire, sometimes only starlight. The silence between one crackle of ember and the next is enough to fill the mind. He begins to notice that thought, like movement, also needs rhythm. A beginning, a middle, a pause. The more he walks, the more he learns to reduce. A step shorter, a breath slower. Each action becomes a lesson in economy. Power, he realizes, is not the gathering of force, but the removal of waste. One evening, while resting near a bridge, he watches two men cross with heavy loads of firewood. One struggles, shifting the weight from shoulder to shoulder. The other moves lightly, the poles balanced so evenly that the bundles seem to float. Musashi studies the difference, not in strength, but in placement. He smiles faintly. The sword, too, obeys this law. Balance before power, intention before effort. The following morning he practices near the river, the blade gliding through fog. He strikes not to hit, but to understand. Each motion reveals what is unnecessary. When the air moves smoothly again, he stops, knowing the lesson has ended by itself. He begins to seek fewer battles. Invitations still come, curious warriors, proud students, but most he declines with a bow. To fight now would be to disturb the calm he has just begun to learn from. Conflict had once been his teacher, now it is his distraction. Instead, he observes, he watches how fishermen set traps by waiting, not chasing. He notes how wind bends grass, yet leaves the root unmoved. Observation becomes the new practice, quieter, but no less demanding. Days pass in this rhythm. Walk, rest, observe, walk again. He eats what the road provides, a bowl of millet, a handful of berries, a piece of dried fish shared by strangers. Hunger no longer feels like lack. It sharpens attention. Every taste, every smell, every color seems clearer when nothing is excessive. In the still afternoons, he sometimes carves pieces of driftwood. The knife moves as if tracing air, revealing shapes already hidden inside. He does not name them. Bird, wave, hand, they are only forms freed from grain. The motion of carving feels like practice without noise, a duel between sharpness and patience. One night, under a roof of thatch offered by a farmer, he dreams of the duels behind him. Not the faces, not the blows, only the rhythm, approach, pause, end. He wakes before dawn and sits by the door, watching fog lift from the fields. It seems to him that every fight had been the same conversation, spoken in different tongues. Each opponent was another reflection, another way to ask the same question. When does motion end and awareness begin? The farmer's wife sets a bowl of soup beside him. He bows, eats slowly, and leaves a small carving on the threshold, a gift of thanks or perhaps a mark of passing. Beyond the village, the land flattens. He walks beside canals where herons stand in perfect stillness. Their patience humbles him. Each bird waits longer than comfort allows, its eyes fixed on the mirrored surface. When at last it moves, the motion is flawless. No splash, no waste, only certainty. He watches for a long time, whispering to the air. That is timing. As weeks stretch into months, he notices that his footsteps fall more evenly. The body, once trained for sudden speed, now prefers continuous ease. His shadow shortens at noon, lengthens at dusk, always keeping pace but never leading. It becomes his companion, a silent witness that neither praises nor blames. In small towns, people begin to recognize the quiet man with two swords and no home. They speak softly of him in inns and markets, not with fear now, but curiosity. Some say he teaches by silence, others that he carries storms in his sleeves. He laughs when he hears it, the sound brief and low, then continues walking. Reputation, he has learned, is just another echo, and echoes belong to distance. Sometimes on open roads, he meets soldiers traveling in groups. Their armor rattles like memory. Their talk fills the air with certainty. They greet him with respect, not knowing what he seeks. He nods, offers no story, and moves aside to let them pass. When their sound fades, the air feels lighter again, as if order has returned. He crosses plains where wind combs the grass into long silver waves. Here, thought dissolves easily. He lets the mind drift neither past nor forward until even the idea of journey becomes a soft murmur underfoot. At times, he practices with no weapon at all. The hands move by memory, open close, open again. The air yields like water. He realizes that the sword was only a visible part of something larger, a habit of attention, a conversation between motion and stillness that continues even when the blade is gone. Rain follows him one evening. The sky breaks into thin silver threads. The sound is soft and endless. He walks through it unhurried. Each drop marks the rhythm of the world, each puddle a mirror showing how the sky and earth meet in reflection. At the edge of a forest, he stops to watch water gather on leaves, the drops trembling before they fall. There is a lesson even in that delay, a moment of perfect suspension, where gravity and resistance are equal. When the drop finally lets go, it does not fall, it returns. He stays in the forest for several days. No training, no carving, only watching. The trees speak through movement, branches bending, leaves turning their surfaces, toward light. Every gesture answers something unseen. He begins to understand that the world too practices, ceaselessly, precisely, without witness. When he leaves, the forest keeps its silence, but he carries its rhythm in his steps. The path ahead opens wide and slow. Each footprint fills with water, then dries, leaving a faint outline. Not a mark of progress, but of presence. The road behind him lengthens. Not because of distance, but because of memory. Each place, each meeting, each quiet observation stretches it farther until it feels less like a line and more like a circle. A single, unbroken movement, returning always to stillness. As evening deepens, he walks toward the faint glow of a village. Children laugh somewhere near the river. A dog barks once, then stops. The air smells of rice smoke and rain. He sits by the roadside, places his swords beside him, and lets his eyes close without decision. Somewhere within that stillness, the night begins to breathe. The world continues its slow repetition. Sound, silence, sound again. And he listens quietly, as if for the first time. The Duel at the Sea. The sea lies flat beneath the morning light. Mist floats just above the water, blurring the line between sky and tide until the world seems to hold its breath. A small boat drifts across that silence, carrying one man, one oar, and a single folded robe. The sound of the oar cutting through water is steady, unhurried, a rhythm older than memory. He sits within the motion, not rowing for speed, but for thought. Every pull of the oar measures distance, every pause folds it away again. The island ahead, Ganryujima, waits like a grey stone half submerged in light. He can already feel its quiet, the still air that gathers before an ending. The sea smells of salt and pine smoke from faraway shores. Fish leap sometimes, leaving rings that spread and fade without mark. He watches those circles until they vanish, small reminders that nothing truly collides here. It only touches, then passes. On the floor of the boat lies a long piece of wood. It was once an oar like the one he rows with now. Last night he carved it with a small knife, shaping its curve by moonlight, listening to how the grain answered each stroke. It is longer than a sword, heavier, still carrying the scent of river water. He holds it once, feeling the balance shift from hand to hand, then lays it across his knees. He does not think of victory, he thinks of timing, of tide of wind of light. The air feels thick and pale, as though the sun itself hesitates. When the island draws close, he rests the oar, letting the boat glide the last distance on its own. The bow slides into sand with a soft sigh. He steps down barefoot. The sand is cool, damp, beneath the thin edge of wave. Across the beach, another figure waits. Tall, composed, dressed in clean robes the color of dawn. His hair tied high, his posture precise, the sword at his side, long enough to reach from ground to shoulder. Sasaki Kojiro. Between them, the air holds the faint hum of expectation. Behind Kojiro stand a few witnesses, retainers, fishermen, men who will later become storytellers. They murmur quietly until the sound of wind covers them. Musashi walks forward slowly, the carved oar resting against his shoulder. He looks as though he has slept little, his robe wrinkled, his hair still marked by travel. The onlookers whisper, "Late," disrespectful, armed with wood. But the man from the boat does not hear them. He studies the distance between foot and sand, the way the tide curls at his ankles, the shimmer of air between one heartbeat and the next. Kojiro bows. The movement is flawless, polished like his blade. He unsheathes the long sword, the drying pole, and it catches the light in one unbroken line. Its length hums faintly, like a string drawn too tight. He raises it with care, both hands steady, and waits. The world stops. The sea pauses in mid-breath. Even the gulls above grow silent. For a heartbeat, nothing belongs to sound or motion. Then Musashi moves, not quickly, not slowly, but in perfect time with the wind turning. His feet barely disturb the sand. The wooden blade arcs once, a single movement joined to the exhale of the tide. The sound it makes is unlike steel, more like the crack of bamboo in winter. Sharp, clean, final. When the motion ends, air rushes back into space, and the island breathes again. The witnesses do not cheer, they stare, unsure of what they have seen. On the ground lies Kojiro's sword, half buried in sand, its long shadow broken by light. The man who held it stands still for an instant, then folds gently, like fabric settling after wind. The sand smooths itself quickly. The sea reclaims what has touched it. Musashi lowers the wooden blade. His breath is steady, his face quiet. No triumph, no relief, only completion. He looks once toward the horizon, where the mist has already begun to lift. The sun rests low, scattering faint silver over the waves. He bows, not to the fallen, nor to the witnesses, but to the sea itself. The oar in his hands, carved by night, stained now with salt, feels heavier than before. He rests it on his shoulder and begins walking toward the boat. Behind him, the murmurs rise again, not loud, only curious, uncertain. Someone steps forward to mark the place. Another kneels beside the motionless figure. But already the story is leaving them. What happened belongs less to the island than to the air above it. A rhythm completed, a breath returned. The boat rocks gently as he steps inside. He pushes away from shore, using the same oar that moments ago had been a blade. The wood dips into water with the same quiet precision. Each stroke feels slower, heavier, yet free of effort. As the island fades, its outline dissolves into brightness. Only the faint shape of footprints remains. Two paths crossing once, then washed away. The sea closes them without memory. He rows without destination. The horizon widens. The sun climbs higher, turning mist into shimmer. He feels the ache in his arms, but it is a kind ache, the kind that follows completion. His mind is empty, not from exhaustion, but from balance. Every thought that once pressed forward now settles like sediment, quiet, weightless. He stops rowing and lets the boat drift. The waves slap lightly against its side. Above him, a gull circles once, then glides toward open water. He watches until it becomes a speck against the light. For the first time in years, he feels the sea moving inside him. Long, slow tides that answer to nothing but distance. He realizes that mastery was never about defeat or defense. It was about this, the ability to return, to meet the world with no edge left to sharpen. The carved oar rests across his knees. He runs his fingers along its grain, tracing the marks of the knife, the small imperfections left on purpose. They feel like the map of everything he has learned. Uneven, necessary, true. Somewhere behind him, voices begin again. Faint, distant, already becoming legend. They will tell the story differently, louder, clearer than it was. They will add thunder where there was silence, blood where there was breath. He lets them. Stories need their noise. He has chosen quiet. The sun tilts west. Light pools across the water like molten glass. He dips the oar one last time, steering toward the far shore. The motion is smooth, effortless. Each stroke follows the sea's own rhythm. Forward, retreat, forward again. The same eternal pattern the world has always known. When the boat reaches shadow, he rests the oar and looks back. Ganryujima is almost gone, reduced to a smudge of light on the horizon. The sea between them glitters, wide and calm. He whispers to it, not a word, only a breath. The wind carries it away. Then he folds his hands, closes his eyes, and listens. To the rhythm of water against wood, to the long pulse beneath the world, to the silence that comes when all motion has found its balance. Nothing moves, and yet everything continues. The sea smooths itself, the island forgets. And the man in the boat drifts quietly onward, unarmed, undefeated, a shadow returning to the rhythm that made him. When silence becomes the teacher. The days after the sea grow lighter, emptier, almost transparent. He wakes with the first color of dawn and finds that sound has thinned. The wind no longer strikes the trees, it passes through them softly, leaving only the smallest movement, like the breath of someone asleep. He travels inland, following narrow paths between rice fields. Farmers greet him with quiet bows. Children run barefoot through water, chasing the reflection of clouds. He watches, smiling faintly, and moves on. No one recognizes the man who once carried storms in his hands. At night, he stays in huts, sometimes alone, sometimes with strangers. They offer rice or tea and he accepts with both hands. The food is plain, the talk minimal. He has little to say that the world needs to hear. After every meal he rinses the bowl himself, as if polishing the air between one moment and the next. The sword now rests longer in its sheath. He cleans it each morning but rarely touches the edge. Its weight is still there, familiar, but no longer urgent. He has begun to prefer other tools, a brush, a chisel, a cup of clay that fits perfectly between his palms. He paints simple things, a branch bending in rain, a single heron balanced on one leg. The lines are spare, almost careless, yet the spaces between them breathe. He understands that what remains unpainted carries more truth than all the ink he could ever use. When he carves wood, he listens for the hidden rhythm beneath the grain. Each cut must follow that rhythm or the wood will splinter. It is the same law the sword once followed, but here it leaves beauty instead of scars. The cave that will become his last home waits beyond a ridge of rock. He finds it one evening by accident, a dark opening framed by moss and the faint trickle of water. Inside, The air is cool, round and steady. He lights a small flame and watches it lean toward the wind. This, he thinks, is enough space for the rest of a life. The nights grow longer. Outside, foxes cry on distant slopes, and the moon lays silver patterns across the cave floor. He sits by the wall, brush in hand, paper spread upon a flat stone. Ink smells sharp, almost alive. He writes a few lines, pauses, listens, and writes again. Each stroke feels slower than the one before, as if the brush must wait for the next heartbeat to continue. He is no longer trying to explain. He only records what silence tells him. Sometimes he sets the brush aside and pours tea with the same care once given to drawing a blade. Steam rises, curls, disappears. The sound of pouring fills the cave, like a short prayer made to nothing but the act itself. His movements become a language, lifting, setting down, breathing. Each gesture a phrase, each pause a comma where thought exhales. There are no witnesses here, no students to impress. The work exists for its own sake, a quiet conversation between body and space. Days pass without count. Outside, spring deepens. He notices the smell of rain before it arrives, the way insects grow bolder after dark, the way light changes texture before sunset. Every detail, once background, now becomes a lesson. He writes of them in small notes tucked between scrolls. Not philosophy, not command, only observations. When a drop of water falls, another always waits. When a leaf detaches, the tree does not resist. The mind that does not seek is already whole. In the mornings, he practices movement without purpose, raising the sword half an inch, lowering it again. The muscles remember, but the gesture now means something else. It is not readiness, it is remembrance. Each motion honors the thousands that came before. Each stillness honors the peace that followed. When villagers sometimes climb the mountain to bring food, they find him calm, smiling, the cave swept clean. He thanks them, shares a few words about the weather, and returns to his work. They tell stories about the hermit who once was a warrior, but none of them truly understand what he is shaping here. That misunderstanding pleases him. Silence, he knows, protects meaning better than speech. In the cave, there are now 3 objects always within reach: a wooden sword, a small cup, and a sheet of paper. All carry the same lesson. Emptiness filled only when used with care. At dusk, he sometimes walks outside, following the mountain's narrow ledge to where the valley opens. The wind comes up from below, cool and wide. He watches shadows stretch across the plain until light and darkness merge. The sight no longer stirs anything in him except recognition. The world turns. He turns with it. Returning to the cave, he lights a single candle. The flame trembles, then steadies. In that still light, he practices calligraphy. A few bold characters, then long pauses between them. He realizes that the spaces at the parts left untouched carry more truth than the strokes themselves. When fatigue arrives, he lies down near the wall, one hand resting lightly on the hilt of the sword. It is not a gesture of defense, only habit. The memory of weight, the echo of a life that once needed readiness. He dreams sometimes of water, of rivers returning to the sea. In the dream, he is rowing again, but there is no island this time, no opponent waiting, only horizon and rhythm, the slow, patient beat of existence continuing without him. He wakes before dawn. The candle has burned low. Smoke drifts upward, carrying the faint scent of cedar. He breathes it in and feels no difference. Between the air inside his lungs and the air outside the cave. They are the same, continuous, inseparable. The cave listens, the mountain listens, and in that shared silence he understands what all the duels, all the journeys, all the ink were trying to say, that mastery was never the art of control, but the surrender to rhythm, the willingness to move with everything and resist nothing. He smiles, the kind of smile that needs no reason. The world, patient as ever, waits for him to move again, but for now, stillness is enough. The flame flickers once, and the teacher, silence itself, continues to speak in perfect calm. The cave and the 5 rings. The cave lies beyond a slope of pale grass, half hidden by cedar and stone. From a distance, it looks like nothing. A shadow in the mountain's side, a silence that breathes. He enters at dusk. The air is cool, damp, and smells faintly of moss and thyme. Drops of water fall from the ceiling at long intervals, each one echoing like the measure of a clock, too patient to count. He lays down his pack, lights a small fire. The flame bends toward the wall and reveals faint traces of soot from those who once stayed before him. He does not think of them. He sits cross-legged, brush and paper at his side, and listens until his heartbeat matches the dripping of water. Outside, the wind stills. Inside, nothing moves except the flame. After years of walking, the cave feels neither destination nor exile, only balance. There is no more need for victory, no more roads to measure. What remains is to record what the body already knows before forgetting. He begins to write. Not quickly, not as if creating something new, but as though uncovering layers of dust from a pattern already carved beneath. The brush moves the way the sword once moved, steady, without hesitation, following air rather than thought. The first scroll he names Earth. It speaks of grounding, of stance, of knowing where the weight belongs. A fighter must stand as mountains do, not resisting, simply being. The hand that grips too tightly tires. The one that rests too loosely forgets. Earth teaches that to move correctly, one must first learn how to stop. The second scroll is water. It tells of adaptability, of shapes that change without losing essence. To flow is not to flee. A stream bends around rock, not in fear, but in understanding that a rival is never straight. In combat, in speech, in life, resistance wastes, redirection endures. He writes, then pauses to watch the reflection of the fire in a puddle near his feet. A flame carried gently upon water, unburning, unbroken. Next comes fire. It is shorter. Fire knows only the present, to strike, to decide, to end. Timing is heat. Delay is ash. But even fire must rest when fuel is gone. He writes of courage not as aggression, but as clarity. The exact moment when action and necessity meet with no distance between them. The fourth scroll is wind. It speaks of others, their forms, their customs, their illusions. To understand an opponent is not to imitate him, but to see the pattern he cannot see himself. Wind gathers all directions, tasting each before it passes. He remembers the many schools, the polished armor, the loud declarations. They taught movement but forgot listening. Wind teaches listening. It turns without being caught. Last, he writes a void. The hardest, the simplest, the pause between breath and word, the instant before movement, the space where nothing becomes possible. It is not emptiness, but awareness, so complete that it needs no object. He dips the brush again and again, though few words appear. Sometimes a line stops midway, as if the ink has already said enough. Hours pass unnoticed. The cave breathes with him, warm near the fire, cold at his back. Outside, the night deepens. He can no longer tell where the sound of wind ends and the sound of his pulse begins. Each scroll lies beside him now, edges curling faintly. 5 lessons, 5 mirrors, 5 rhythms that circle back to one. He does not read them. He knows that writing them has already completed their meaning. He puts down the brush. His hands rest on his knees, palms open, fingers relaxed. The air smells of ink and smoke. He closes his eyes and feels the cave settle around him, stone pressing lightly on sound, darkness folding into warmth. What he has written is not instruction, but reflection. Not how to fight, but how to be. The swords at his side remain sheathed, thin lines of quiet steel catching the faintest light. They too seem to understand. Outside, dawn gathers unseen behind the ridge. A single beam slips through the mouth of the cave, touching the scrolls in turn. Earth, water, fire, wind, void. The light lingers on each as if recognizing them. The ink dries, the air clears. He watches dust rise and settle and whispers, "Everything stands. Everything flows. Everything ends and yet remains." Then he blows gently on the fire until it dims to ember. The smoke rises in perfect spirals, joining the morning mist that drifts once more across the valley. The cave falls silent again, ready for another who may one day enter. And hear only the steady rhythm of water, counting time the way truth does, without haste, without end. The afternoon softens, the sky turns pale, fading into a gentle shade that seems to hold its breath. The sword rests quietly against the wall, its blade dulled by years and silence. The air moves slowly through the open doorway, carrying the scent of dust, pine, and time. There is no sound of battle here, no echo of names once shouted across the wind. What remains is stillness, a space where thought settles, where memory no longer argues with the present. The man who once walked through storms has stopped walking. His path has become a line drawn through calm air, unseen but still there. In this quiet, the lessons remain. To see clearly even when the light is dim. To move little, only when needed. To act at the right moment, neither sooner nor later. To hold the breath steady like a thread stretched between sky and earth. Outside, the world continues its slow rhythm, leaves turning, water gliding through narrow channels, evening descending without hurry. Inside, everything is complete. The weight of years has turned into gentleness. The edge of the sword is no longer sharp, but its meaning endures. A reminder that mastery is not noise, not conquest, but the quiet art of knowing when to be still. The name will travel far, carried by stories and time. But here, in this fading light, only the rhythm remains. The soft pulse of existence, the quiet between two breaths, the long exhale that ends at last, in peace.